Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Semi Soccer Experts podcast, also known as the C.
C podcast.
All right, we are here on episode number 40.
4-0.
40. Nothing special about 40. Only thing I can think of really is Buffon is in his 40s. That's really the only thing I can think of with 4-0. I can think of a lot of instances with the number 4. I don't think we did. We didn't start associating the numbers with something special in football until what? Until the teens. We were talking about like number 10.
Close to the teams more.
I don't think we did a number 4. So let's talk about the number 4. Javier Zanetti wore the number 4 for Inter Milan. I don't remember what number he wore for Argentina, but he wore number 4. Number 4 usually goes, to the right back, to the outside backs.
Defender.
What
I know another famous number 4.
What another?
Phil Jones.
Phil Jones. Phil Jones, the currently playing at Manchester United.
He's actually not even in the Premier League squad for United.
He's not?
No. Nah.
I mean, you did hear that Ozil got left out of the Premier League squad, and
Yeah.
he seems to be very upset about that. Rightfully so. There's probably a lot going on there, but that's another topic for another day. But what's the most famous number 4 for Manchester United?
Most famous number 4 for United.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I don't know. That's your team. That's not mine.
I know. I was gonna say I can't even think one, and I know some United fans are gonna bash me because like you fucking wanker, you don't know who's the number 4. Honestly, I don't. I know obviously number 2 is Gary Neville. Rio was 5. We've had numerous number 4s, but nothing that really sticks off the top of my head, to be honest. No, I was gonna say Ramos. No, Ramos is 15. I was gonna say he was another number 4, but
The number 4, I don't think is as common as number 2, 5.
yeah.
Actually, Cole wore 3. But yeah, all right. So yeah, number 4. We're on episode 40.
Yes.
It's been a lot of episodes. Hopefully, I'd like to get back on the mic soon. But in the meantime, Adrian, you want to start with the first feel-good story of the day?
Yeah. So during this week, this is the return of the Champions League. It feels like they just finished like a couple of months ago, literally like 2 months ago. With that being said, Champions League is back and running. We started off with the group stages starting on Tuesday. The biggest win, I would say, is Manchester United over PSG, a good 2-1 victory for United. But not just that, there's been like a lot of shocker in results. But one thing that really caught my eye and on social media was Club Brugge over Zenit St. Petersburg. Club Brugge won 2-1 over Zenit, and it was a highly contested game. And the one thing that I said caught my eye was the goalkeeper. His name is Harf. So he's actually a United States goalie. And the whole thing of the video, it showed him after the game, after they won Club Brugge, he was literally in the middle of the field on the floor crying, a lot of emotion going through. And, the reporters were asking, what happened? Something crazy happened. And he was just explaining that like most of the players who play in Europe, they've pretty much stayed out there and they couldn't have gone back home because it's been like such a quick turnaround with the season, especially with the coronavirus. So he's just been there the whole time. He hasn't started any games because their number 1 goalie is Simon Mignolet, and he's second fiddle to him. So he said he hasn't played in a while. So this was his opportunity. He was only able to play because Mignolet actually had the right virus as well and subject to quarantine. So he was able to start. He actually put in a good performance. He even got a rave review from Roberto Martinez saying, he was dominant. He knew what he was doing. A player of his age, he's only 25 years old, should, definitely be getting more reps. And honestly, I haven't probably seen him play that much either. And I think, if anything, he's probably a good goalie for the United States to use in the near future. But obviously, just seeing, like, a player written with that much emotion, it feels good. It's a feel-good factor because, you get to see how much the beautiful game affects everyone differently. And especially for someone like him, he's not a world beater. He's not a top player. But, the game affects us all differently. And, it just humbles people really quickly just to realize, where you come from and everything else that comes.
No, of course. I mean, it's great. This feel good story, especially in the era of coronavirus. It's important that it reminds us of our humanity. It reminds us that we're still just humans, and we are, full of emotions. No, but that's nice to see that young kid is getting his a start. Like you said, he's been playing second fiddle and he's getting a start. And I'm sure like he was full of emotions at that moment, and especially if he's been in Europe and haven't gone home yet. He definitely misses his family. He's probably playing for his family. So it's a very good story. It's great, and especially in the Champions League. If he played in the Champions League, the highest competition in the world. But since we are talking about Champions League, let's just recap. It was the opening week of the Champions League, like you said earlier. The most probably interesting scoreline, I guess, is Manchester United beating PSG 2-1. And Real Madrid losing 3-2. Those are
Shakhtar.
To Shakhtar, the Ukrainian team. Let me just start with Real Madrid. Let's just quick recap. Doesn't look too good for them. Real Madrid lost to what is considered the B squad for Shakhtar. 10 of the starting 11 contracted COVID and were subject to quarantine. And Real Madrid lost to the B team. They shouldn't have lost to the A team. On paper, Real Madrid is the richest club in the world. They're supposedly dominant. So it's really it's an attention grabber. It's an attention grabber, and I want you to hold that thought for later, okay? Because we're going to talk about something later very important. But the fact that Shakhtar was able to beat Real Madrid 3-2, and Real Madrid made a good comeback. They were down at the half 3-0, and they made a comeback, and they actually scored a late goal in the 92nd, but it was disallowed.
Oh yeah, Valverde scored, but they turned it around, right?
I believe so. They turned it around. I'm not sure why. I wasn't watching the game, but there's that. And let's go into the Manchester United PSG. That's your team. You could take the wheels for that.
Yeah, literally, always at the wheel. But yeah, like I was saying, for the United game, we actually held our own against PSG. We had some injuries. Harry Maguire was not there. Tony Martial, who was lucky to play for us, even though he got a red card during Premier League game. But I feel like everybody in the team contributed. We actually had to play in the wake of Maguire not there, or Bailly. Tuanzebe, Axel Tuanzebe put a hell of a shift in. We did play with a back three, so it wasn't that much of a pressure, because you had two other defenders alongside you. But with that being said, Tuanzebe put it on his own, and he was literally like right there. And every time Mbappe was coming down the flanks, of course, Aaron Wan-Bissaka did his job as a right wing back, but Tuanzebe was there to close down that gap in case Mbappe, because he is one speedy little fucker, he can get through anybody. And he held his own, and I'm proud of him. Tuanzebe, actually, this is his first game back in like over a year, because he had a serious injury going on. He had to deal with nagging injury to get fit and everything else. And it was good to see one of the young players who came from the academy and up to put on a stellar performance. Felt like he'd been playing for a couple games or seasons already. So, it's really good to see that. And mind you, we're going to be playing Chelsea, so he's probably going to be playing again this coming day tomorrow as we speak. So I'm happy with that.
What time do you play tomorrow?
We play at 12 o'clock p.m. Eastern.
Okay, so I will be watching that game.
And the funny thing, though, about the game is when we first scored, we actually won a penalty. And Bruno, who's always scored majority of penalties, up until this past weekend against Newcastle, he missed a penalty. He was, because of his confidence and how he's been the captain. He actually took the penalty. He missed, but it was actually retaken because Navas actually stepped out of the line, and because of that, they did a redo. And Bruno, with the fucking cojones, he actually hit the ball at the same area where Navas saved it, and was able to make it in the second time. And with that, the United went 1-0 halftime. Obviously PSG scored off of Martial, own goal. and then like it really literally at the last 5 minutes of the game, Rashford, who's been frustrating me during the whole game. He had so many chances, but I feel like sometimes like he's still young, but there's times where you get so frustrated with him because he does so well. He has the pace. He can do a lot more, and he just bottles it or just lets the ball go because he just overthinks it, over dribbles, etc., etc. But he scored a beautiful goal right at the last 5 minutes, and that was enough for United to win PSG. And ironically, Rashford was the one who scored the game-winning penalty against PSG 2 years ago on the knockout stage.
I do remember 2 years ago, Lukaku also scored.
Yeah, he scored 2 goals.
I do remember that 2 years ago. Speaking of Rashford, before we transition more into the Champions League, I just want to give a big shout out to Marcus Rashford. He's done. He's using his platform. He's using his voice to help feed the needy children, the hungry children in the UK, and it's very upsetting though that based on what I see on Twitter. Now, mind you, we're not experts on British politics or really the situation that's going on in the UK. But at least based on what I see on Twitter, he's getting a lot of backlash. He's saying it mirrors a lot what happens in the United States with American athletes, but they tell him that he needs to stick to football to get out of politics. Meanwhile, this is not a political issue. Feeding hungry children should never be a conservative, a liberal. It's a must. It's not left or right. It's not one party. I don't know what parties they use, the Whigs or the Tories in the UK, but it shouldn't be about that. Yeah. Marcus Rashford is feeding the children. In the UK should feed the children. Same thing here in the United States. People going through hard times, especially during this COVID, these things need to be addressed. And I just I love trolling Manchester United. You see me do it on Twitter every day. That's Manchester United is my new Arsenal. But I will give 100. I will tip my hat. I will give 100% respect to Marcus Rashford because again, no matter what these politicians say to him, he's going to go out and do his best to help those in most need. And I think today he was able to get about like 50 different restaurants all across the UK to give free meals for any child that was eligible for those free meals through school. And I just want to applaud him for that, like a great human being. And again, I troll Manchester United, but there's one man I want to see succeed is that man. That guy is a model citizen, a model world citizen.
Yeah, I 100% agree on what Rashford has been doing. And it's not just even in the city of Manchester. He's doing all over the UK. He's been doing this since COVID really hit off. And it's really thoughtful of him because you don't see much athletes going on social media or spending their free time trying to help out others. And, he's even trying to like push the government like, hey, can we get some assistance? And the government's just like, nope, nope, nope. Literally just like that. So even though he's being told no, he's like, all right, fuck it. I'm going to do it my way and I'm going to do it without you guys. And with that, he actually blew up on social media, did a campaign today, got other restaurants within the UK to, do like a partnership with him to feed these hungry kids, like offering times, reservations when they can pick up, etc. It's like a whole, it's coming together when you have, people of his power and like other corporate and other partnerships and, restaurants who want to help out and contribute and like do charitable work because that's all he's doing. And it just baffles me how the government's not doing anything. They're just like, oh, we got a lot of other things to do. But they're just trying to take care of these kids. And I feel like, something could have been done. But, obviously with the government the way it is, we're not experts on it, but it makes them look like fucking assholes. That's my opinion. But regardless of that being said, I applaud Rashi 110% for him doing what he's doing. And, he's going to get a lot of good recognition and he deserves it because, like I said, not many athletes you see in this day and age are being unselfish like this.
Absolutely. Again, I wish him all the best. I wish him many, many goals in his future career, whether it be for Manchester United, for England, or for another team. I just wish him sporting success because he deserves it. He's a great human being. But that's my feel-good story. But let's move on back into the Champions League. I just going to recap.
Champions.
Yeah, I'm just going to recap really quick. Inter Milan tied Borussia Mönchengladbach 2-2. So for those of you who are following Champions League, Inter Milan is in the same group with Real Madrid and Shakhtar. So Shakhtar is starting their foot down forward. On paper, Real Madrid and Inter Milan should be the two teams going forward, but I think Shakhtar getting the first 3 points, especially against the toughest opponent in that group, it's adding to the excitement of the Champions League. It's adding to that magic. It's going to be a great group, and I think that probably is, based on that result, that's the group of death.
And with that precedent too, after this recent round, it's going to be like every game really counts going forward, because given how Shakhtar just beat Real Madrid,
with a B squad,
they have the confidence to be like, hey, we can beat anybody in this group, not just Real Madrid. They can actually get out of this group and probably make it through.
And the problem is that they beat Real Madrid, but it shouldn't be like, for Inter and for Borussia, it shouldn't be we can relax now because Real Madrid is clearly weak. No, that team is capable of stomping on the gas at any moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to discredit Shakhtar at all, but at the same time, if Real Madrid really wanted to sweep a team, they'll sweep it. They'll score as many goals as they can, because they do have the players who are capable of it. But I think my big thing right now is that I really want to talk about, Adrian, and we spoke about this earlier, is the European Soccer League. The European Premier League is what they're actually calling it. And
the EPL, but just phrased differently.
Correct. So let's take a step actually back, and let's talk about really quick. I think it was Liverpool and Manchester United. They want to reorganize the Premier League, so they were to get a bigger slice of the money pie.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that plan did not work out for them. The majority of the Premier League teams voted against that plan.
Mm-hmm.
So now the step that they decide to go towards is the European Premier League, which is supposed to involve all the top clubs from Europe. And even though Liverpool and Manchester United are headlining this project, I believe, is what I'm reading correctly, Real Madrid is the one who initiated this European Super League idea. And we've heard stories about this from the past. We've heard different forms of it. I mean, I think the first time I've heard a bit about this was like maybe 3 years ago.
I feel like this has been going longer than that, to be honest.
This has been going on
10 years at least or more, because a lot of people have been saying, there's not much competitive balance when all the top teams play against each other in one league. You got your Bayern, your Manchesters, Man City. Now you can consider them up there. But, all these teams to play amongst each other in the Super League. But it's a logistical nightmare. This is all within Europe.
I mean, I'm not so much worried about the logistics. I think there is I think it comes down to the product. Think of the Premier League. You got 4 or 5 good teams, even though they say the top 6.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say there's 4 or 5 good teams. How often are you going to watch soccer if every weekend you're playing a team of the caliber of Chelsea versus Manchester City or Manchester United? If that type of matchup happens every single weekend, how more likely are you to watch that league? So, for example, we have the Clásico tomorrow. The Clásico comes twice a year, twice in a season. If the Clásico were every single weekend, I think you're devaluing the product, because you're giving it more, I'm not going to be as excited.
Yeah, it's too repetitious, to say the least.
Repetitious, and I this is me saying I don't like it. I definitely don't like it.
Yeah,
but it's very repetitious. If I were a Man U fan, I'm going to play Liverpool every single weekend.
If we could smack them every weekend, that'd be great.
That'd be great, but you're like, they won 6-0, they won 6-0, they won 6-0. How exciting is that? But
For a United fan, that'd be exciting. But realistically, yeah, I get what you're trying to say. Obviously, you do have the same type of caliber teams playing against each other, and that's the other thing too. Because one, if you're trying to do this for a whole season, you need at least 10 or more teams to even function at this type of level. So with that being said, you're gonna need at least 3, 4 top. Like it's pretty much what Champions League is, but on a weekly basis. And I just think it, obviously that would kill the Champions League because you already have a tournament that's, doing a whole year-round, session, and you're just gonna do for the points who gets the most highest and out of all of them. And I don't see any point of it, to be honest. It's been rumored, it's been talked about, but I prefer the way it is domestically. It is an interesting idea, but other than just seeing like the same teams play each other, what makes the EPL, in my opinion, so exciting is that anybody can beat anybody. And given that, like 2 weeks ago, before international break, Aston Villa torched Liverpool like 7-1.
7-2.
Oh, there you go. So with that being said, anything can happen. Granted, Aston Villa is already like second, even though they lost like Leeds. But you wouldn't think Aston Villa to do that to the reigning champions
Right.
of the Premier League.
Right.
So that's the whole excitement about the Premier League. Granted, I love Manchester United, but sometimes I get nervous when we play against teams that are not as good because sometimes they play the game of their lives against us.
And I think, but that's what makes it appealing.
Yeah.
The fact that you get nervous, that draws you in as like, oh, I need to watch.
Just you never know what's going to happen. You can't be confident we're going to smack these teams.
But if I'm playing every single weekend, I kind of the same teams, the same caliber. Like I always also put myself in Messi's. Like if I were to put myself in Messi's shoes, if I were playing Real Madrid every single weekend, I'm gonna get bored.
Mm-hmm.
But if I know only I get to play Real Madrid twice in a year, I'm gonna like, okay, this is the day. This is my game day. And just kind of tying this all together, I feel like this whole European Super League, every year they come out with the same rumor, and I think it's picking up a little bit of steam, especially within the organizations, within the teams. My issue is that they're trying to take the European soccer teams are trying to model this after the NFL. Now, the NFL as a domestic single entity organization is the most profitable league in all of sports. I think the NFL is just eclipses the Premier League in terms of revenue. The problem is with the NFL, they all share it, and there is no promotion relegation with the NFL. Meanwhile, in the Premier League, yeah, they kind of share the revenue a little bit, but there is the danger of losing. And that's why I think there's this appeal of maintaining all the wealth within the big guys, because they get threatened by the smaller teams. Like you said, 2 weeks ago, Liverpool got destroyed by Aston Villa, who just recently, 2 years ago, was playing in the Championship.
Yeah.
And Real Madrid got torched by a Ukrainian team, no offense to Ukraine, with their B squad. I think it's this fear of the rich losing their money out to the poor, the lesser teams.
Yeah.
And it's going to create this inequality. And I for one, again, I don't like it. I don't want it. And it's just, tying this back to what I said earlier about the Champions League, the excitement of Real Madrid losing 3-2. And mind you, I'm a little biased to Real Madrid because my father's a Madrista, but that makes that exciting. It's interesting. It's like I'm a Madrista, I gotta watch the rest of the group stage.
Because you don't know what's gonna happen.
You don't know what's gonna happen.
Imagine Real Madrid in the Europa League.
Right, that would be a nightmare, and I'm sure that, if we tie in the economics, they have a budget set up as if they're playing every single season in Champions League.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there are clauses in some of those players' contracts is that they have to play Champions League football. You think Cristiano Ronaldo would have played in the Europa League? He would have like, all right, I'm out.
Sent in a transfer request quicker than anybody else.
You think? Do you think Messi would play in Europa League football? No, absolutely not. So it also comes down to the bottom line, and I think that's why these teams, they want to create this closed league so none of that type of things happen. But then again, we go back. It waters down the product. As a consumer, do I want to watch Manchester United, Liverpool every single weekend? No, I don't want to. Every twice a year, yeah, because it builds up the excitement.
Yeah,
it's a rivalry game. It's a must-win game for both those teams. I want to watch that. But if I have to watch it every weekend, do you think they're going to play their hearts out? No, they're not going to. It's going to be
Yeah, and like I said, bring it all together. I think it should just remain how it is. I think it's domestically it's the best thing to do. And plus, if you take out the whole domestic thing, you take out the other cups that come around with it, like for example, your Copa del Rey, your FA Cups, stupid Carabao Cup, whatever the Italian league has. But yeah, so you defeat those secondary titles, and it really doesn't make it any interesting at all. And it is a lot of inequality if you do make a super league out of this, because not everybody's going to want to watch the EPL anymore. But that's what I think. They're not going to want to watch the EPL, and they're going to try and like the Super League. But I think the Super League is going to die a quick death if it's set up, because it's not going to make it. I feel like at first it's going to be it's always going to attract a lot of new viewers, something new, something different, always does. But in the long-term scheme of things, I don't see it like running, past a year or two, because, like I said, you have too many strong teams, and it's going to be like really, it's going to make a lot of the strong teams look really poor, because when you never know how a season pans out, injuries, fatigue, everything that comes into, that comes along with it. So
it definitely in that terms, in the logistics of, especially of the player health, Magic Messi having to play every single weekend against a defender of the caliber of Virgil van Dijk.
Yeah.
He's going to break him every weekend and out. And again, I don't want to take away from any of the other defenders that play on smaller teams, but that's the reality of it. There was another point I wanted to add.
Well, one thing I want to put in too is that once FIFA got wind of this and they were asked to comment about it, the president Gianni Infantino, he pretty much said, no, the best thing we got right now is the Club World Cup. He'd rather see like a team like Liverpool face against like Boca Juniors, et cetera, et cetera. So it makes sense, and hopefully he sticks to that. He's not just saying it's a safe face. So we'll see how it all pans out. But like I said, I think this is all rumor and speculation. Just from the super teams.
I definitely hope that to be the case, because again, it's just like I can repeat myself all over again. It just waters down the problem. Now I want to think about like the commercials. Think about it. How much more valuable is airtime for a Champions League final versus every single weekend a European Premier League? If, for example, Chevrolet buys ad space, that ad space won't be as expensive as a Champions League final, but are they going to get the same amount of eyeballs watching those ads, versus a Champions League final? I think that's the thing. It's like the ad space in a Champions League final is so much more valued, not in dollar signs, but it's just the amount of people that are going to see it.
Yeah.
The European Premier League is a domestic thing, it will become down to the point where only the super fans of those teams watch those games. But if everybody watches the Champions League final, no matter who you're a fan of, you watch the Champions League final.
Yeah, and that's the other thing I wanted to touch base on. I just remembered with the ads, not just with the ad space, but what's been going on recently. And I think this is an actual good transition. The pay-per-view aspect of viewing games.
The pay-per-view.
Yeah, because it's not just over here in Europe, but I mean not just down in South America, but in England. They implemented that as well.
Where do you want to start with, the English or the South American?
Let's start with the English because we're still in Europe.
Okay, so the English. And my hat off to Leicester City.
The only ones.
The only ones. So what happened was the Premier League decided to come down to a vote on games that are not regularly being scheduled on broadcast on national TV in the UK. You have the option of paying, what was it, £14.99 to watch
Yeah.
Premier League over pay-per-view. That I think that's ridiculous. And they're going to try to, I think if that succeeds, if that model succeeds, they're going to implement it to the rest of the world. To backtrack a little bit, we in the United States right now only pay $6.99 to watch some of the Premier Leagues here on a streaming app.
Just some.
Some. I manage, if I total up all the money that I actually spend, I pay about $12 a month to have access to all the games with my Spectrum cable and Peacock and Telemundo app, which if you download, it's free and you can watch whatever game is being streamed on Telemundo. In my Spectrum, I do have NBC Sports, and so I got NBC Sports, Peacock, and Telemundo is free. So that to me totals up to $12.99, and I think after a lot of frustration, I'm able to watch every single Premier League game that's being broadcast. Not so much in the UK. I think Sky Sports is the one who broadcasts.
I think it's Sky. It's either Sky or. Yeah, I was thinking ITV, but I think it's Sky.
Okay, so it's Sky. So if Sky isn't broadcasting, let's say whatever team you watch versus whoever, you have to pay $14.99 to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that
and that's per game, right? I didn't really read the whole thing of it.
That's not for the whole. That's per the game. That's ridiculous.
Imagine paying $14.95. You see your team get smacked 6-0. I would be pissed.
I would be, and I understand why the British are so rowdy. That's ridiculous. So, and then they did this during a time where people clearly do not.
This is during COVID time.
During COVID, with a lot.
Not everyone's back at work anymore.
No, not everyone's back at work. People are dying. People are hungry, and they're like, "Okay, this is a great time to start charging people more for our product."
It's horrible.
It's horrible, and hats off to Leicester City. Even though obviously the vote passed, you have my full respect. Always will have my full respect.
Yeah, it's crazy how they're the only team that voted like, nope. Nah, we love our fans, so we actually give a shit about them. It's a big shame. Like I'm not surprised by Manchester United. You got those fucking American dumbasses running it. Same thing with Fulham and Arsenal. All the ones that are American owners. I could give two shits about them.
I think a good half. A lot of them are American owners. I think you said Fulham, Arsenal, Liverpool, Manchester United.
City, not surprised.
I think Aston Villa has an American owner. Birmingham City, even though they play in the Championship, is a Chinese owner. I think there's more. There's definitely more.
There probably is more.
But again, it's just and I think whoever made that decision for Leicester City is very smart. They're like, listen, this is going to pass anyway. Let's not look like assholes to our fans. And everybody on social media was praising Leicester City.
Yep.
That was great. That you did the morally the right thing, and now everybody loves you. It's like you can't go wrong with that. You can't go wrong with it. It's like, and again, a lot of these issues with these clubs is because people don't think outside the box. Whoever did this clearly was thinking outside the box, and great move on them. I think let's move on to the South American side. Growing up, about probably till 14, 15, 16, South American qualifiers were always on pay-per-view. I would have to go with my father to the bar, and this is the only time they let minors into a bar, where the bar would pay for the pay-per-view, and then you get the whole crowd of Colombians watching the game. It was a great time, a great experience with my father. I'll always treasure those memories. But then recently they decided, okay, CONMEBOL can go on TV. Great, even better. We can watch the qualifiers. Then they decide during COVID, okay, we're going to charge $29.99 per game.
Mm-hmm.
Per game for the qualifiers. And I'm like, again, this is during COVID where people don't have money. People in South America don't have money.
Yeah.
COVID's hitting hard down there. Why are you guys doing this? Now,
Especially being sports, because they're the ones who've been covering the CONMEBOL for like past couple of years, and they're just like,
I don't think I think beIN Sports lost the rights to it.
But they still have some viewings though, or they split it with
No,
somebody.
they get the replay.
Oh, so they're not showing. I was
They're
under the
not
impression
showing
they
it
have some
live.
show.
Once it shows live, then they can play it back, but they're not showing it live. I think
Interesting.
I think some company bought it. I'm not sure what company bought it, and then they decided they bought the rights from Commonwealth, and then they decided, oh, this is going to go pay-per-view because we got to make our money back. And I think it's a failure because I was able to find an illegal stream. My father was able to find an illegal stream. Everybody I know has been able to find an illegal stream. So I'm like, I don't see the point. The internet is way too vast for that to stay pay-per-view. So unless they beef up the security, I don't see a lot of people paying $30 per game, especially during COVID. It was one thing like if you had a restaurant, if you had a bar, you pay for the pay-per-view and people flocked to your establishment and then paid. Yeah, that made sense. And at least I'm paying for the game, also playing for the atmosphere, But I think, again, it's coming down to these organizations being money hungry, as if they didn't have enough money already. So I feel like football is moving in this very dangerous direction where it's going to stay for the rich and only for the rich. And
And it's funny because, like 10 years ago, it's like a cycle. Like it was like this. You had to pay pay-per-view more or less, or more, a little bit more than 10 years. But like right around the 2010s, when the last decade began, the availability to view these games were relatively easy.
mm-hmm.
And you thought this was going to be for the future. Like this brings more eyeballs to the soccer fans, to the consumer, and everything. You're trying to popularize the sport out here, and it's still popularizing regardless. But I feel like they really dropped the ball. Like not just the leagues, but also the television companies. Like they dropping the ball with increasing the coverage of the game and putting more eyeballs to watch. These big, because CONMEBOL is a big competition. The qualifiers specifically, those are just as big as like the Copa America and all the other tournaments, because you have all these teams trying to fit into like what the top 4 or 5 spots just to get in. And how many teams are in there, like in the CONMEBOL, like 10. So out of 10 teams, you're trying to get half of that in. So it's crazy because every team's gonna fight every game, and like you're gonna have some shitty quality games, like especially playing in Bolivia where the altitude is super high, and it's crazy, and just to not even experience that on your own television set is super annoying, and they have to fix this. There has to be a resolution on this because, like I said, past decade. We had the availability to see all these games on beIN Sports. Sure, beIN Sports costs a little bit extra, but at least you can view all the games on that one fucking platform. Why can't you view it just on there instead of paying it through this Fight TV service and just paying $30 just for a game, and you don't even know if your team's gonna win or lose? That's the frustrating thing out of it. It's really frustrating, and during this day and age of COVID,
it's very frustrating. Again, and I think like. The CONMEBOL is because it is, Europe, yes, commands more money, but arguably speaking, you could say South America is a much more better continent football-wise than Europe, but whatever, that doesn't matter. It just, there's a lot of people invested watching, you have Latinos we watch soccer. That's what we do. That's our biggest thing. And then you're creating a barrier to see access to a product, access to recreation, access to leisure. You're creating a barrier. Again, it becomes the rich get richer, the poor get poorer, and it's not an overall good situation.
And my thing is, too, how many people actually pay? I know the diehards are going to pay for this, but I'm just curious to see the turnout, the ratings, like how many people, the buys.
The diehards will never pay for it. The diehards will find the illegal stream.
No. But there's still some diehards who will still pay for it because they're like, that's nothing to me.
I found an illegal stream, and to be honest, it wasn't that hard.
I know. I can imagine. You got to use a Reddit stream here and then.
I think the lazy will pay the $29.99.
Yeah.
If you truly want to see Colombia play, there is a legal stream somewhere, and I know a couple of them.
Yeah.
I just, as a consumer, I'm not interested in paying that $29.99. I think as a consumer, no one is. But again, if they made a revenue target, they're gonna implement this model all over the world. I'll tell you right now, in Colombia, the league over there, you have to pay another channel, the Colombian league. And back in the day, it wasn't like that. You just watched the game. You turn on the channel, the local channel, and you were watching the game of the league. And now you have to pay. And I think a lot of, the way we're seeing, again, with subscription models and, just not just sports, but in everything else, it's moving towards that. And it's just,
there's a lot of greed going on.
There's a lot of greed, but something's going to break. Something's going to happen where either, I don't know what's going to happen, but something's going to happen because it can't continue like this.
Yeah. And I know we've been rambling this for like the past 5-6 episodes. Well, I'm a little bit exaggerating, but this is something that, obviously we keep talking about because we want everyone to be aware and knowing like this is not right. Granted, we did have privilege before, but you can only do so much to it, and just to take it away from us, it's a turnoff. And I just feel like this greed is gonna hurt the consumer, and also it's gonna hurt these greedy organizations / corporations just trying to take it away from us. And obviously, like I said, and like you said, I hope there is an outcome. There's a resolution. I think I said in the previous episode. Hopefully, someone comes out with not an invention, but like an idea to like create a super app, and you just pay like a monthly fee for all the soccer content you can get. Because once somebody comes out with that, everyone's gonna be screwed anyway. So.
Right. No, I think I wouldn't mind paying a flat rate $20 fee for a super app where I watch all the games. That would make my life easier, and I think whoever figures that out is going to make a lot of money too.
Yep, because like I said, all this greed, all these networks and corporations just trying to exclude everyone else from like one specifically to another, and etc. It's not going to work out. This is, I feel like, a short-term gain that they're just trying to gain so much money, but they don't realize they can't underestimate the soccer fans. And then that's one thing that they're gonna regret sooner than later.
Right. All right, Adrian. Anything else before we wrap it up?
Nothing other than that. I said my piece. I'm just happy right now that we got Champions League back. Actually, one more thing I wanted to discuss before we wrap it up. We were talking about this, but like, since we do have international football back, especially in South America and in Europe, this has been an interesting area with the whole coronavirus, like, because a lot of players have been traveling, and with the traveling, they, leads them to more exposure to the virus itself. And one of the biggest stories that come out of this was Cristiano Ronaldo got tested positive for COVID, like right after his game. And the scary thing is, like, he was playing a game and he was amongst everyone else in the team he faced. I forgot what team Portugal was facing. I don't know if it was Croatia or something.
France.
Okay, they're playing France. And the crazy thing, like, he was exposed to all these players, and especially his Portuguese teammates, and luckily nobody else tested positive. But he's the only one that did, and which is crazy because, as you mentioned, everyone's like, shit, are we going to lose Bruno for 14 days? Because it just brings so many question marks, and just like, what the hell? Like, you would think somebody like Ronaldo, who's like in tip-top shape, takes care of himself very well, has like his own like personal security, people who take care of him on a daily basis. And yeah, he was still able to contract the virus. It's fucking nuts.
Yeah, no. So I mean, that actually it's a testament to the fact that we don't know anything as a human species. We don't know anything about this virus. You know, there's no way to say that where Ronaldo got this virus. We don't even know. Let's begin that. First of all, there could be false negative, false positives. That could also have been a case because Ronaldo was asymptomatic.
Yeah.
My theory is, and I maybe I'm a little biased, but I think he got it from Juventus. He went to it was incubating in his body, and then when he got tested, it started appearing itself. So it's possible that he was carrying it, but it's in an incubation period, so not necessarily could spread during that incubation period. We don't even know that. We're not sure, but it's good to see that he's doing better. I don't think there was a report of him like feeling sick or anything, but I think he recently tested negative.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems that the rest of the French team, none of them tested positive. The rest of the Portuguese team, none of them tested positive. None of the staff, Ronaldo's family, no reports. So again, it's just a testament that we don't know anything about this virus. It's also a testament that our testing, isn't that good. The rapid testing isn't as accurate as the overnight testing, or as the 1, 2, 3 days where it takes to test. So it just, again, now mind you, we are in the midst of pandemic. I disagree with the international football. I think there was no need. And I feel like these nations, these not the nations, the confederations, were just eager to push this out because they have contractual obligations. Now, remember, UEFA doesn't make a lot of money from the Premier League. UEFA makes money from its qualifiers. CONMEBOL doesn't make a lot of money from the Colombian domestic league or the Brazilian domestic league. They make money off the CONMEBOL qualifiers. They make money off the Copa Libertadores. UEFA makes money off the Champions League. So it's, again, greedy. The rich get richer, the poor get poorer. It just comes down to greed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's the other thing too, and it's worrying as well because luckily the U.S. didn't go out for any of the international games recently, but now I just found out, like as of today, they're actually going to go to Wales in the next international break in November. So that's going to be a little interesting because, here in the U.S. cases are rising again. I know Europe is going through the same thing. Obviously, Europe has been a lot more in control and more mindful of it.
Everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. But here, we're still running it like a fucking carny. And it's just been nuts. And that's why I'm a little fearful for the U.S. I'm pretty sure it's just going to be the I think the way they're going to do is probably have their international-based players, like the players within Europe, just go to Wales and just play there, which if they do, fine. I'm for that if you want to train up your players there. But the thing is, like, when you got the CONCACAF, qualifiers and everything with that going on, and we're still in these times, it's going to be a little interesting because you got your European-based players and then your MLS-based players, and it's just like, what do you pick? Who's your best 11, etc. So, it's a bit a little. That's the one more intriguing things I'm trying to figure out. But with that being said, I still think it's a little premature for international games being played. Yes, it's a little more interesting, but I just think it's too soon given that, we're still in COVID and we're probably going to get a second wave sooner than later, especially when it gets colder and colder. I'm hoping for the best. I'm trying to be as optimistic as I can be rather than be pessimistic. But you just don't know with this wave. And the other thing too is just the exposure amongst everybody else nowadays. So, I just want this shit to be over with. All in all,
I want this shit to be over with, and just be optimistic, hope for the best, and but I think at least in the state of New York, everything seems to be moving in a better direction as of recently.
Yeah.
All right. So, Adrian, again, another great episode. Everyone, thank you for listening. It's
40
been
episodes
great.
done with.
All right. And that's me signing off.
Yeah, and thank you guys for listening. 40 down, 40 more to go. Thank you guys for listening. Have a good one, y'all.